Great.
the whole gamut from haircuts to massaging or anything.
Awesome.
An old cigar. What was it, Chris? Cigar?
I did a lot of things right now.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sure there will be a lot. You met like Tina.
So it's a pretty big success story for Virginia County, Little Virginia County.
I love that.
I shouldn't be looking at
It's
this
literally
before
whatever
lunch.
you want.
Check that one out. Tuna, look at these.
Is this
So that is what people all over the Commonwealth are going through right now. They're trying to make ends meet, they're trying to work things out, they're trying to feed their families, they're working part-time, they're going to school to get re-educated so they can re-enter the workforce. And the fact that the House Republicans, including your opponent, voted no and turned down $125 million of federal stimulus money, which is my tax dollars and your tax dollars, is appalling. You know, it is showing total disregard for the pain that those people are feeling. It's also economically foolish because there's a multiplier effect. If you put $125 million into the revenue stream, then those people spend money, and then the people that they spend money with spend money, and we've lost that multiplier effect. You know, we've got to get Virginians back to work, and we've got to be very energetic about it. I have spent the past 7 years working with Mark Warner and Tim Kaine to create jobs. We created almost 200,000 well-paying jobs that come with benefits that are putting people to work all over the Commonwealth. But we've got to do more. And you know, we've got to look at things like our Governor's Opportunity Fund. It's interesting that last week Bill Bowling and traveled around the state, and he was talking about the fact that the Governor's Opportunity Fund has to be greater. Well, he's been part of the crowd that's been cutting the Governor's Opportunity Fund and cutting the Virginia Economic Development's funding. Ultimately, if we don't put money into those endeavors, we don't have the tools in the toolbox. I served on the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, the Virginia Tourism Corporation, the Virginia Small Business Financing Authority, and they've all been doing stuff with two hands tied behind their back because they haven't had the tools necessary. In March, we put out an economic agenda of what we think needs to be done. It's been on my website for a long time. It's interesting that Bill Bowling has been lieutenant governor for almost 4 years, and it took up until 3 months before the election for him to actually pay attention to the fact that we had a shortage in the Governor's Opportunity Fund. You know, we need to also work on education. Statewide, we have a high school graduation rate that's embarrassing. 1 in 5 students does not graduate from high school. So that means we're losing. 1 in 5 is not ready for the 21st century jobs. The jobs you were talking about, the green energy jobs, the jobs in biotech, the things that we need to be building for. And, you know, we've got to turn that around. And the first place you start is early childhood education. Because if you're an at-risk student and you don't have parents that can help you get ready for school, then you need the community to help you. And if you show up unprepared at age 5 for kindergarten, it's hard to catch up. And if you don't catch up and you don't pass 3rd grade reading, there's a great probability that you won't graduate high school. Well, we work to try and add 4-year-old kindergarten pre-K to the agenda. We tried to expand doing it for at-risk students, and we got a lot of resistance from the House delegates. I don't think they like 4-year-olds. That's the only thing I can figure out. But ultimately, we've got to take care of these kids because that's our future. That's our workforce in the future. We also can't give up on anybody that we missed that's beyond 4. We've got to make sure that we're making college and middle school, high school and middle school relevant. We need to make sure that we're actually connecting why you're learning and what you're learning. I have a 17-year-old son, and he'll frequently say, "Why do I need to know that? You know, why does it matter?" Well, he's fortunate. He's got parents that can sit down and talk about why it matters. A lot of kids don't have that. So we need to have mentorship programs and internship programs in the high schools and the middle schools where we ask people like you all to go to the community and get involved and educate. And we have to have career track education because there are a lot of kids that aren't going to go to college. 2/3 of our students won't graduate from college, but there are very meaningful jobs that we need. Plumbers, electricians, auto mechanics, that you're not going to offshore, that you need in this community, that we need to be building. And finally, the topic that has been on our minds for 7 years, Mark and I started working with it in 2002, Governor Kane and I worked in the area for we tried 5 times to fix it, is transportation. And frankly, again, the House Republicans stood in our way, Bill Bolling stood in our way. In 2008, when we were trying to fix transportation, he said we really didn't need any more revenue. All we needed to do was study VDOT, and we would find the savings to do everything we need to do. Well, I come from an area where we have tremendous needs. This is an area where you have tremendous needs, and Northern Virginia is total gridlock. If we don't get to work dealing with that, we won't be able to improve our economies, because employers will not put jobs in a place where you can't get your employees to work or your goods to market. So it is absolutely essential that we take that issue on and that we deal with it, both fixing the roads we have, improving the roads, and doing public transportation. Because when gas went to $4 a gallon, people everywhere, all over the state, were looking for alternatives. So I'm running for lieutenant governor. I plan on traveling around the state. We've had a great visit here in Waynesboro. You guys are really doing a lot, and it's very exciting to see the reinvigoration of the city. We're going to be traveling around after we leave here. We're going to be Charlottesville, then Martinsville, Danville, and a variety of other places, because ultimately we've got to reach out to the whole state and get you involved. It is, at this point, a sprint. You know, when I did the primary, and that was a marathon. And I know some of you supported me, some of you didn't support me. You probably made a bad decision, but you're going to make up for it. But this now is a sprint, and we need everybody getting involved and working on making sure that we win on November 3rd, and that we get you elected, that we get Crew Deeds elected, that we get Steve Shannon elected, and me elected, because ultimately we need leadership in Richmond that's going to work in a bipartisan fashion and get stuff done. So thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and I really appreciate it, and thank you for